So Apple is about to do something they haven't done in years. Not a bigger screen, not a new color, not our most advanced chip ever said with that specific tone of voice. No, this time it's a combination of things happening simultaneously that when you add them all up actually changes the math on whether the iPhone 18 Pro Max is worth buying. And there's one specific decision Apple made as about the chip architecture that nobody in tech media is connecting to battery life the way they should be. We're getting to that because it changes your entire calculation. But first, let me tell you what this phone is not going to do, because that's actually the most useful thing I can tell you right now. Based on everything leaking out of Apple's supply chain right now, the iPhone 18 Pro Max is shaping up as an internally massive upgrade that looks externally familiar. Same general shape, same titanium frame, same camera plateau on the back. And I know what you're thinking. Cool, another iPhone that looks like the last iPhone. Stick with me. Because the stuff happening inside this phone, the chip, the modem, how the RAM is actually integrated, is genuinely different this time. Not different in a spec sheet way, different in a this is going to feel different in your hand at 11 p.m. when your battery is still at 47% way. I've been watching this leak cycle closely since it started heating up in early 2026. Here's what's actually confirmed, what's credible, what's a stretch, and one thing I think even the leak accounts are underreporting. Let's start with the chip, because this is the foundation everything else is built on. The iPhone 18 Pro Max will run Apple's A20 Pro chip, manufactured on TSMC's 2 nanometer process. The transition to 2 nanometers means more transistors in the same space, which is where performance gains actually come from. Now, the jump from 3 to 2 nanometers gets thrown around like it's just a number. It's not. Here's what that actually means. The A20 chips could be up to 15% faster and 30% more efficient than A19 chips. 15% faster, most people shrug at. 30% more efficient, that's the number, because what 30% efficiency means in practice isn't that you get a better benchmark score. It means the phone does the same amount of work, same apps, same brightness, same 5G connection, and it uses dramatically less power doing it. And here's the part nobody's really talking about. The A20 chip will use a new packaging method called wafer level multi-chip module, WMCM, where RAM is integrated directly onto the same wafer as the CPU, GPU, and neural engine, rather than sitting adjacent and connected via a silicon interposer. Apple says this could bring faster Apple Intelligence performance, longer battery life, and a smaller overall chip footprint, freeing up space inside the phone. That last part, freeing up space inside the phone. You know what they're putting in that freed up space? We'll get to that in a second. Leaks suggest the iPhone 18 Pro Max will move to 12 gigabytes of RAM, a 50% increase over the base iPhone 17's 8 gigabytes. Now, I'll be honest, on the surface, 12 gigabytes of RAM in a phone sounds like something you put in the spec sheet to win arguments on Reddit. Most people will never notice the difference in day-to-day use. Their apps will still load, their camera will still open, life will go on. But here's where it actually matters. The jump to 12 gigabytes is almost certainly tied to Apple Intelligence. Apple is expected to introduce expanded AI features with iOS 27, announced at WDC on June 8th, and on-device AI workloads are memory intensive, keeping even the entry-level iPhone capable of running Apple Intelligence in full is the real motivation here. So the RAM upgrade isn't bragging rights, it's infrastructure. Think of it this way. Apple didn't increase RAM because they wanted a bigger number. They increased RAM because the AI features they're about to ship require it, which means if you're buying this phone and you don't care about AI, fine, but if you do, the 18 Pro Max will handle it in a way previous generations simply can't because the memory wasn't there, okay? Remember when I said the chip frees up space inside the phone? Supply chain leaker Digital Chat Station says the iPhone 18 Pro Max will have a battery capacity of 5,100 to 5,200 milliamp hours. Combined with the efficiency improvements of the A20 Pro chip on TSMC's 2 nanometer process, the device is expected to offer extremely impressive battery life. It's also expected to be slightly thicker than its predecessor to facilitate the larger battery. For context, the iPhone 17 Pro Max currently holds the largest iPhone battery at 5,088 milliamp hours, and Apple rates it at up to 39 hours. And a recent test found Apple devices lead the industry for battery life, with the iPhone 17 Pro Max ranking as the longest-lasting phone tested. With a bigger battery and a more efficient chip, the iPhone 18 Pro Max should comfortably push over 40 hours. Here's why that matters more than the raw number. Battery capacity isn't everything. With a slightly larger battery, efficiency gains from Apple's in-house modem and the latest generation Apple Silicon, the battery gains could feel larger than the numbers would suggest. The analogy I keep coming back to is fuel efficiency in cars. You can put a bigger gas tank in any car, but the actual improvement you feel is when the engine also gets more efficient. Apple is doing both at the same time. Bigger tank and a more efficient engine. That's why some leaks are pointing toward 40 plus hours of real-world use. Some leaks even claim this combination, the 5,200 milliamp hour battery, the 2 nanometer A20 Pro chip, and the C2 modem could deliver over 40 hours of mixed-use battery life, potentially 1.5 to 2 full days of heavy usage. I'd take the 2-day claim with a grain of salt. That's a leak, not a test. But 40 plus hours of mixed use based on the trajectory of the 17 Pro Max, actually credible. Now, the charging speed, because this is where Apple still has work to do. Rumors suggest wired charging could bump up to around 45 watts. That's not as fast as some Android competitors, but it's a step in the right direction. And with the right adapter, you might hit 50% charge in about 20 minutes or less. So the phone lasts longer between charges and charges faster when you do plug-in. That's not a revolutionary story, but it is genuinely the boring upgrade that actually matters most story. This is the one I've been most interested in tracking. According to reliable Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, the main rear camera on the iPhone 18 Pro will feature a variable aperture for the first time on any iPhone. He specifically says the wide camera will upgrade to variable aperture in 2026. Variable aperture. On a phone, let me explain why this is a bigger deal than it sounds. A variable aperture would allow the lens to dynamically adjust light intake, opening wider in low light conditions for brighter images, or narrowing in bright scenes to reduce overexposure and improve depth of field. This feature, long common in dedicated cameras, would represent a major leap for iPhone photography. Right now, every shot your iPhone takes goes through a fixed aperture. The phone compensates for lighting changes entirely through software, computational photography, which is genuinely impressive, but it has limits. You can only calculate your way out of a physics problem so far. Variable aperture means the phone is now solving that problem in the physical world first, then handing the result to software. It's the difference between drawing a picture of a door and actually opening one. And supply chain reports indicate production of actuator components has already begun at Sunny Optical, with LG Innotek scheduled to start camera module assembly in June or July 2026. So this isn't a rumor someone typed. There are parts being manufactured right now. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is expected to feature a 48 megapixel main camera with variable aperture, alongside a 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens and a 48 megapixel ultra wide, making the entire rear array 48 megapixels across all three sensors. An all 48 megapixel triple camera system with variable aperture on the main lens. This is the first time Apple has had a real answer to the question, why can't iPhones do what DSLRs do? I'll be quick here because I don't want to oversell this. The design is evolutionary, not revolutionary. The iPhone 18 Pro Max could be slightly thicker, measuring 8.8 millimeters up from 8.75, and may push over 240 grams in weight compared to the iPhone 17 Pro Max's 233 grams. That's 7 grams heavier. 7. You will not notice this. What you might actually notice, multiple sources indicate Apple is shrinking the dynamic island by approximately 35% by moving some Face ID components under the display, creating a cleaner, less obtrusive front experience without achieving full under-display Face ID just yet. 35% smaller dynamic island. That's noticeable. Whether it's meaningful depends on how much the dynamic island bothers you personally. And the color, Apple is testing a deep red finish for the iPhone 18 Pro models, and leaks are calling it dark cherry, a shade with a purple tinge to it rather than a straight darker red. No black, by the way. According to leaker Instant Digital, the iPhone 18 Pro still won't come in black in 2026, which would make it the second consecutive year Apple has dropped what was arguably its most classic color option. Honestly, I still don't understand that decision. But here we are. This might be the quietest big deal in this phone. Apple started debuting its in-house modems last year with the iPhone 16e and iPhone Air, but those first-generation modems didn't support mmWave 5G. That changes with the iPhone 18. All models should get the C2 chip, and Apple's own modems are dramatically more efficient than Qualcomm's, meaning longer battery life without significantly larger batteries. So when you're adding up where those extra battery hours come from, it's not one thing. It's the 2-nanometer chip, the WMCM packaging, the C2 modem, and the larger physical battery, all pulling in the same direction simultaneously. And then there's this. Apple's C2 modem could add support for 5G satellite connectivity, allowing iPhones to connect directly to satellites via NR-NTN standards, which can also be used as backhaul for carrier networks to extend coverage into remote areas. This would allow the iPhone 18 Pro to offer full internet access over satellite, supplementing 5G when standard networks are unavailable. And as of April 2026, it looks like Apple is teaming up with Amazon to provide this service. Amazon recently acquired Globalstar, the previous provider of iPhone satellite connectivity, meaning iPhones will now fall under Amazon's LEO satellite internet network. Full satellite internet on a phone through Amazon's network. I genuinely did not have that bingo square filled in for 2026. Here's something worth saying clearly, because most iPhone leaks videos won't. Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo does not believe Apple will raise prices on the iPhone 18 Pro models. The company is reportedly absorbing the added memory costs to gain market share. For reference, the iPhone 17 Pro costs $1,099 and the iPhone 17 Pro Max costs $1,199. Rumors currently indicate there'll be no price increase. So if you're sitting on an iPhone 15 Pro Max right now or older, the math on waiting just got more compelling. Same price, more RAM, bigger battery, better chip, variable aperture camera, first Apple-made modem that actually supports mmWave 5G. That's not nothing. But here's my take, and I haven't seen anyone else frame it this way. The iPhone 18 Pro Max isn't going to feel like a revolutionary iPhone on announcement day. It's going to feel like a very thorough, very deliberate cleanup of everything that was almost right about the last two generations. The chip efficiency they partially solved with A19 Pro, he fully solved. The modem they launched in a limited way with C1 fully replaced. The camera aperture they've been doing in software, now done in hardware too. This is Apple closing loops, and the people who should pay the most attention to that are the ones who held off on the 16 or 17 Pro, thinking it's not there yet. It's getting there. So, should you care about the iPhone 18 Pro Max? If you're on a 15 Pro Max or older, yes, this is a genuine upgrade across the things that matter for daily use. Battery, camera, chip, connectivity, all meaningfully better. No price hike as far as we know. If you're on a 16 Pro Max, the camera and battery gains are real, but you might not feel the chip jump as viscerally. The variable aperture is the most compelling reason to move. If you're on a 17 Pro Max, honestly, wait for the 19. The 18 Pro Max is better, but not sell your current phone in April better. You can say, here's the thing nobody says out loud in iPhone leaks videos. Apple doesn't make bad Pro Max phones. They haven't in years. The question is never, is it good? The question is the delta between where you are and where this phone is worth the cost of the upgrade? For most people who haven't upgraded in 2 years or more, this year, the answer is yes. One last thing I'm genuinely curious about. Apple is doing a staggered launch for the first time in their history. Instead of 4 iPhones in September, they're launching the iPhone 18 Pro, Pro Max, and the foldable iPhone in fall, with the standard iPhone 18 and others coming in spring 2027. That means September 2026, the cheapest iPhone you can buy new from Apple will be $1,000. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Let me know in the comments if you do. Catch you next video. Peace.